Podcast City Network.
You are listening to The Rip Griffin Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. Here's your host, Rip Griffin.
Hey, what is going on, baseball world? Welcome to another episode of this Rip Griffin Show. Tonight, I am joined by Mac from Overtime Heroics. Matt, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, Rip. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, man. It's good to see you. You've been doing some jet setting, going to different games and ballparks and kind of doing some baseball activities. How did that go?
Well, great. I got to go to Coors Field for the first time, and that is a beautiful ballpark. I had great seats. It was a great time there, and I got to see a pretty good team, the Oakland A's. I got to see them play. I loved it. I just, in general, enjoyed it was the first time I was outside of the Northeast since March of 2020. And so to go out west, it meant a lot to me, actually, to get out of this little bubble.
You know, I hear you. To get out and just to travel again, it's always something that we all haven't been able to do for such a long time. So what was the best part about going to Coors Field? I heard there's so many things, the fountain in center field, but the view. But what was your overall best part of Coors Field?
Well, there was a lot of good things I could say about it. I'm not sure, the view is great. The fans are great. I think one of the best things about it was, Charlie Blackmon, his walk-up song is Your Love by the Outfield. And nice. When they play his walk-up song, the whole ballpark sings the chorus. It's, I think that might have been my favorite thing about going to that game, because the Rockies, they're not the best team, but the fans, you can tell they love going to games. And it was for a Friday night, a non-contending team. It was a pretty good crowd.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, there's several stadiums that are on my bucket list. Colorado is one of them. It's gonna be interesting to see how the All-Star game is coming up here pretty soon. So we'll kind of touch on some home run derby picks to see who can hit the longest ball there at Coors Field. But before we get into tonight's episode, just want to remind everybody to head on over to wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Google, or Spotify. Subscribe, rate, review. Let us know how we're doing. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Rip Griffin Show. So all the social media platforms, go follow, and we will give you a follow back. But tonight on tap, we got a little sticky situation that Major League Baseball is trying to work their way through right now. Last week, they came out and had these new rules that they're adding to it, that pitchers cannot use any type of foreign substance. That's kind of one of those things we've kind of already addressed. But now the pitchers are actually having to be cautious, and they're getting checked very regularly by the umpires. But Commissioner Rob Manfred seems to think that there's nothing wrong with it. And what do you think about that, Mac?
I think this has gotten out of hand.
Yes.
It's one thing if it's the spider tack thing. All right, I understand that. All right, pitchers are using it, get all sorts of an advantage. The spin rates are going through the roof. All right, whatever. Right now there is a lack of offense around baseball. I understand trying to regulate that, but now we're just regulating, using sunscreen to improve your grip, which has proven to not even increase your spin rate. All it does is give you a better grip. And Tyler Glasnow, who recently suffered a partially torn UCL, said that
Right.
part of the reason why he thinks he got hurt is because he was no longer using the sunscreen. And there were pitchers coming out and saying, I think I saw the clip. It was Peter Moylan, the former Atlanta Brave and Kansas City Royal, who's saying, he did a demonstration. You don't have a better grip on the ball. You're gonna have to grip it tighter, and that will cause more stress on your arm. And
Right.
because of that, I mean, I think at this point, like, what's the point? I mean, I don't think you need to use the use of sunscreen on your hand. I mean, I just think Manfred, he's taken it way too far, and now we're seeing now the pitchers have to get checked every inning. Like, it's unnecessary. Like, it's one thing if it's spider tack or some other random substance that will actually give pitchers an advantage, but if it's just something to give you a better grip and help you prevent an arm injury, then that should not be banned. And I don't know what Rob Manfred thinks he's doing, but it is definitely not making the game better. In fact, I think it's making the game worse.
Oh, I have to agree 100%. I don't think the thing that frustrates me the most with this whole situation is the fact that it was done mid-season. This is something that you can address in the off-season, kind of figure out a way to kind of, institute it and kind of do these regular checks. And to say that it's gone very well is very naive of Rob Manfred, because it clearly has not gone very well. And as evidence, as we saw with Max Scherzer going up and Joe Girardi. And we've got a little clip here we're going to play of that, and you can kind of see why, or hear why, if you're listening to this after the podcast airs. So let's just check this out. You can kind of get your own opinion.
They're going to check Max here in the middle of an inning.
Oh, anything to try to throw somebody off their game, and Davey rightfully coming out to protect his guy to see what's going on here. Max does just
what did
everything
they
he wanted to.
expect? Max drops his hat, and Carlos Torres is going to get mad at him. This is in the middle of an inning after you struck a guy out, and it was initiated by the other manager. If I'm Davey, I'm not standing for this at all. And now Girardi's going to come out and become a bigger part of it.
Well, I love how Davey's coming out to protect his guy here. Girardi trying to find anything to get Max off his game, but honestly, I think it's only going to fire him up more and going to make him better.
I mean, if they allow this to happen,
Well, there goes
you could have a guy throwing a no-hitter, and a manager could come out and have him checked in the ninth inning.
Yeah, and there goes your pace of play that the league has worked so hard to maintain.
We are told that Max has already been checked twice tonight before this. After the first inning, he was checked again after the third inning. And then Carlos Torres seemed upset when Max just took his ball cap off and dropped it on the ground. Struck him out on a fastball up and in. We wondered if something might happen with Max walking off. Not sure if he's gazing at the umpire or all the way over to the Phillies dugout. But watch what he does when he gets into the Nationals dugout. Joe Girardi up to the top step to have his look over the other way. Girardi's hot.
Okay, so you kind of get a good sense as to what's going on in that Nationals-Phillies game. That was courtesy of MASN Nationals broadcast, so just give them a little credit there. But that's a good point, because this check right here was done mid-game, in the middle of the inning. Now, I mean, the broadcasters made an excellent point. If somebody is throwing a no-hitter, that totally throws them off. But that was also his second check of the game, and that's what's supposed to mean. Starting pitchers, from what I can understand and from what I gathered, was the fact that just 2 checks was all they were going to get, and he got a third. So clearly, it's something that it definitely needs to be worked on. This is just this is absurd to have to go through this.
Yeah, I just like the Scherzer thing. I mean, what would Joe Girardi just? Was that to mess with Scherzer's rhythm? And I mean, Clayton Kershaw said in a post-game interview that maybe if a manager is doing that and they find nothing, maybe they should lose a challenge, lose one of their replay challenges, because I mean that's ultimately just like delaying the game for I don't know a minute or two for no reason. And I understand why Scherzer was upset. That does mess with your rhythm, and I think there has to be some way to regulate this, and I really really think that this doesn't need to happen. You know, all right, maybe you check after the first inning, fine. I mean, but checking a guy multiple times in a game, like that's absolutely ridiculous. And I said this when we were talking before the show, but I mean, they check sometimes when you're leaving the game. And last night, so that's Wednesday night, Tyler McGill was making his big league debut for the Mets, and he was coming out after 4 1/3 innings, and the Citi Field crowd is giving him a standing ovation because he had a strong effort in his first big league start. And then the home plate umpire stops him to check him while the crowd is giving him a standing ovation. And of course, naturally, the crowd starts booing him. It's like, dude, this is a rookie, in a once in a lifetime experience, and you're ruining it. You're stopping him for no apparent reason. Like, just the league is turning into a clown show. And I mean, Rob Manfred, I don't think he's going to do anything because clearly he thinks this is going well, but it really, really, like, they want to make younger generations more interested in baseball, and I don't see how this is doing it. I mean, I hope this comes to an end, but I can't see it happening.
Exactly. One of the things that makes this whole Max Scherzer, Joe Girardi thing interesting is the fact that Joe Girardi has already been on this side of this, foreign substance issue when he was with the Yankees, and his pitcher was Michael Pineda. Yeah. When he had the pine tar on his neck. So he's already been a part of this in some shape, form, or fashion, whether he likes it or not. And now he has the audacity to criticize another pitcher who's clearly not doing it. Even Max Scherzer said, after the game that he couldn't get a grip on the ball because there was no humidity because it was cool that night. And so he had to get it somehow. So he kept touching his hat because of the sweat. And he was trying to, build that grip and that give something so he can throw the ball. And we saw that in the video as well when he was saying it's just wet. But I agree. This whole situation with what Rob Manfred has done, I clearly think that he absolutely does not like baseball 100%. He is he's bad for the game. And I'm just going to be blunt and be honest. I think he needs to step down and resign because he clearly has not made baseball better. He's actually made it worse. So that's just my opinion, though. But it'll be interesting to see how Major League Baseball continues to, because I'm surely right now they're probably coming up with different ways to, given this first week with players practically undressing themselves. We saw Sergio Romo in that Athletics game the other night, who basically took off his pants, and was willing to do a strip search, right there in the middle of the field. And you can't have that, especially when there's kids in the stands. I mean, that's just absurd. And it's unfortunate that it has to go to this length because of something that is silly, in my opinion. Pitchers need to pitch. And one of the things that I want to get your thoughts on real quick. Now, I know it's not really, apples and apples here, but, hitters, they have the pine tar on the bat. They got the sticky spray that they put on their gloves to kind of help give them a grip for the bat, because I mean, you're swinging a 34-ounce piece of lumber that you let go of it, it's going to hurt, and it's going to fly. Do you think that these pitchers should have some type of universal substance to kind of that Major League Baseball institutes? Because it's legal for hitters to have pine tar and spray, but pitchers cannot. So do you think Major League Baseball should have some type of legal substance that these pitchers can use to have at least some type of grip other than just rosin?
Yeah, 100%. And, right now, yes, the universal substance is rosin. But, I mean, rosin only can do so much. And I do think that there is something that can be done. And, I guess you can sort of relate this to steroids. It's like, well, a number of players were using steroids. It's just, at the time they were legal, until they started cracking down on drug testing and started suspending players and stuff, they were legal. With the spider tack and whatnot. I mean, there was no rule necessarily that outlawed the use of this substance, but now that has been outlawed, and now that even sunscreen has been outlawed, I think there should be just like, say you can use. I'm trying to think. Just like maybe just say like, all right, you can use sunscreen. Like you can use sunscreen. Like everyone in the league can use it. Now it's known. Then yeah, perfect. But I like we were saying, like Rob Manfred has done just such an awful job with this league that I cannot imagine him. I cannot imagine him doing something like that. That would be smart, but right now we're probably a ways away from that happening.
Yeah, anything to make the game better for that's just something that Rob Manfred won't do. Something that's very simple to fix, but that's too easy for Manfred to do. So, but the sticky situation has definitely gotten stickier this week with these the pitchers actually lashing out and voicing their frustrations to the point where they're undressing, and that's just sad. So, but we'll definitely keep an eye on this as this whole situation kind of progresses a little bit. But we're gonna kind of switch gears now and kind of talk some Shohei, some Sho-Time. I'm gonna call him Sho-Time because he is definitely bringing it this season. And I was on a podcast before the season started, and I'm gonna eat my words here because I actually thought that he was overrated. He was what they called show overrated. So, but he definitely made me backtrack, and I do it because he's batting. Let's just look at his numbers offensively from a hitting standpoint. He's batting 265 right now, which is 56 in the league. He has 23 home runs, which is tied for first. 54 RBIs, which is third. He has an OPS of 984, which is fifth in the league right now. Is this a guy that possibly could take Mike Trout's title as the best player in baseball?
I honestly think yes, because it's not like he's just doing this at the plate. I mean, yeah, he's tearing the cover off the ball at the plate, and I am, I can't blame you for what you were thinking before the season. I mean, look, I'm one of the biggest Shohei fans probably in the world. I mean, I'm half Japanese. I saw him play in Japan as a teenager, and like I've been so high on him. But he struggled mightily last year, and he hasn't been able to pitch really since 2018, I would say. He pitched 2/3 of an inning last year before his elbow started acting up again. So my expectations were that he was going to start the year trying to do both, and by the end of the year was just going to focus on hitting. But I mean, that's what separates him from Trout, or him from Tatis or Acuna or Guerrero. Like, he has 23 homers, which actually Guerrero has a home run tonight. So Guerrero's 24 and Ohtani is 23. But he can hit the ball 480 feet, and he can also throw the ball 100 miles per hour. And this is literally the first time we've ever seen this. I mean, you can say Babe Ruth was a two-way player, but Babe Ruth couldn't throw the ball 100 miles per hour. Yeah. I mean, I think that we're watching one of the most gifted players of all time, one of the most gifted athletes ever, honestly. I mean, he's truly one of a kind, and I'm really, really happy I've been able to watch him play and to watch him succeed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, before the season started, I thought, like you mentioned, I had the same thought that he would actually either need to do one or the both. Now, if he wanted to do the pitching and the hitting, that maybe he might need to jump to the National League where he can actually do that. But he wouldn't be able to do that on a every 2 to 3 days like he normally does now. Or I mean, he's gotten pretty regular, and especially in the lineup at the offensive standpoint, because he pitches every 5th day, but he can come in and there was something where that I think ESPN had showed that just given in a 5-day period where he had a home run, went 6 innings, then had a home run the next day. I mean, which was truly phenomenal, and especially in this era of baseball where we don't see that. And I had the chance to see him down in Houston back in April. Now, he didn't pitch, but he did hit. I mean, the guy hits the cover off the ball. It's truly phenomenal. The guy's got lightning fast speed, especially on the bases. I mean, he is truly a joy to watch, and to see a once in a lifetime type player that can do both was truly phenomenal to see. And kind of just like on the mound this season alone, he's got a 3-1 record, a 2.58 ERA, 82 strikeouts, and 59.1 innings pitched. Now he's actually eclipsed his 2019 mark where I think he had like 68 strikeouts. So he's doing it on the mound, and it's truly phenomenal to watch. And I really think that he has the potential to possibly, there's the triple crown for hitting, and then there's a triple crown for pitching. He can be one of those that can actually win both awards.
Yeah, and my biggest concern with his pitching was his control. And through the first couple starts, I mean, he was walking like 6-7 batters in 4 innings, but lately he's been able to control that. Like, he only walked 2 his last outing. He had another outing where he walked 0. I mean, and he's racking up all the strikeouts. So, I mean, he's really become a complete player. I think that he's progressively been improving on the mound and at the plate. I mean, my concern at the plate was his plate discipline, and he's actually drawn a lot more walks lately. And I think it's also that pitchers are now more worried about him in the lineup. I mean, especially now that Trout is out of the lineup, and Jared Walsh is there, and I know Anthony Rendon's underperforming this year, but he's still a good hitter. Max Stassi's been hitting, but I mean, he's their best hitter in the lineup. So, you bat him high in the order. He's normally batting, I think he normally hits second. I mean, this is a guy who, we're coming up on the All-Star game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he, since it's just an exhibition game, I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting on the mound and batting leadoff for the American League team, because he's just that good.
Oh yeah, he's one of those that I think can be a Silver Slugger Award winner too, and he can win easily, as a pitcher and as an outfielder. That would be pretty phenomenal. I mean, that's obviously never happened before in today's baseball, in the live ball era or dead ball era, one of those.
Live ball era.
Dead ball was back in the day. Okay, I always get confused on that, But anyways, I digress. But yeah, I mean, Shohei has been dominant this season, and it's like we've mentioned, it's such a joy to see him on the mound, behind the in the batter's box, doing whatever he does. And I really think we'll kind of jump on some home run derby picks here in just a little bit. Actually, we can kind of dive into that now, because he's going to be in the home run derby, and he's got a slugging percentage of .633, which is third in the league right now. So what I want to kind of do in this little segment here is kind of maybe do some home run derby picks as the All-Star game, as we get closer to that in Colorado. The uniforms came out. We'll kind of touch on those because I've got some things to say about those. But Shohei's in it. But do you think that maybe we should see Vlad Jr.?
As much as I want Vlad Jr. to be in it, I completely respect his decision to sit it out. The number one concern every year before the home run derby is it going to mess up your swing? We've seen it in the past. It happened to Aaron Judge a little bit. He slumped after after the home run derby, after he won it, but he was able to salvage the season, whatever. But he did slump for a little bit afterwards. I remember in 2006 when David won it, and he got second place, and I think he had 20 home runs at the All-Star break, and he only finished with 26. Right. I remember Pete Alonso going through a little bit of a drought after he won in 2019. So is, I mean, as much as I'd love to see Guerrero and love to see so many other players compete in the home run derby, I will completely understand if they choose to sit out with reasonable concerns.
Yeah, it's always exciting because we want to see these guys and on baseball's grandest stage, other than the World Series, of course. But the All-Star game is, like you mentioned, it's an exhibition game, but it's the best of the best on one field for one night only. And we want to see the long ball. We want to see these guys get excited because the home run derby's always been. I'm glad it's going to be back this year because we missed it last season. But it's always fun because these guys get into it. Basically players from all over come in and they sit on the field and they watch these guys put on a show. And I really think Vlad Jr. can really put on the show. He's probably one of the most dynamic hitters in today's baseball, aside from Shohei and Fernando Tatis and Ronald Acuna Jr. But but I can understand that. I can respect the decision not to do it because you don't want to, mess with your mechanics, and I can understand why Vlad Jr. doesn't want to do that. But to kind of go through my picks here, I think Fernando Tatis is probably one that needs to be in there. He's sitting at 22 home runs right now with a slugging percentage of .657, which is second, just right behind Shohei Ohtani. Like I mentioned, Ronald Acuna Jr. He's set at 20 home runs right now. Now, let me ask you, I've got one here. What do you think about Jose Altuve being in it?
I'm not sure if I can see Altuve being in it. He has been hot lately with the bat, but I don't really think of him as a power hitter. Plus, he's only 5'6", and obviously great for him. I mean, as someone who's only 2 inches taller than him, like I love seeing that he's succeeding, but at the same time, that's a guy where I think if he's in the home run derby, that could actually mess up his swing because he's not I do not consider him a power hitter, but if he goes up there trying to hit home runs and whatnot, I don't want that to become a habit for him. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, one hand, yeah, great, you get to see a guy who's 5'6" hit as many dingers as he wants to, but at the same time, it's like, well, if he's just trying to hit for power now, that will probably tank his batting average.
Right. That makes sense. One guy we were kind of talking about before we jumped on the podcast tonight was Kyle Schwarber, who's right now, he's got 19 home runs. He's got
but he has 2 more tonight.
Okay, so now he's at 21. I wrote down these numbers right before the podcast started, but so he's sitting at 21 home runs now. Obviously, that means his slugging percentage has gone up, and his position within the league has gone up as well. But Schwarber's been hot, man. He's been really hot. I really think he would thrive at, and especially there in Colorado, in this home run derby. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. And Schwarber actually came in second in the 2018 home run derby to Bryce Harper. I mean, he is right now on a tear that I can't remember the last time I saw someone on fire the way he is. I mean, he's seeing a beach ball at the plate right now.
Right.
And it's interesting. So the Nationals were scuffling. I went on the Overtime Heroics baseball podcast, Cheap Seats Chatter. I went on and said that they should start rebuilding and all that. But then they put Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. And since then, if I'm not mistaken, he's hit 5 leadoff homers. He's hit, now including his 2 tonight, he's hit 12 homers in his last 13 games. And including, I mean, I watched him over the weekend against the Mets, and he hit 5 homers in a 2-game stretch. And one of those games was a 7-inning game. I mean, he hit leadoff homers in consecutive games. And also, as a result, the Nationals have won 10 out of 11 ever since they put him in the leadoff spot. So, I mean, I definitely think Schwarber should be in it. I mean, he had 9 homers, and the Nats are 9 games back. So he has 21 homers, and the Nats are now going to be 3.5 back, and they're in second place. So, yes, I think Schwarber should be in the home run derby, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won the whole thing.
Just sitting here thinking about the Chicago Cubs and what they lost in Kyle Schwarber because the Nats picked him up for cheap. And it's kind of one of those. I think this is kind of like a redemption type tour for him because the Cubs gave up on him, let him go. The Nationals picked up on him, and he's doing awesome. Especially in his last 7 games, he's batting .500 with like we mentioned, let's see how many home runs he's got. We mentioned 6 home runs now, 11 RBIs, only 2 walks, but I mean, he's doing phenomenal right now, and I think that he's got a legitimate chance if he enters the home run derby. Now, we don't know yet. All we know right now is Shohei, and of course, I mean, your guy Pete Alonso for the Mets. Do you think he's got a chance to redeem his crown?
I think he definitely has a chance. Looking at his numbers, he only has 11 homers this year. He's missed some time due to injury. But I think one thing that's worth noting is that he has only hit 1 home run at home this year, and he has good numbers at Coors Field for his career, including hitting a home run when the Mets were in Denver back in April. So I think putting him in a competition where he is trying to defend his home run crown, I think that he definitely has a chance.
It'll be interesting to see how well he performs because it's there at Coors Field, and of course, I mean, the high altitude, the ball will tend to carry a lot more. So I think that's going to be something we should see him. One guy that I've got on the list that probably nobody is actually thinking about him being or participating in the home run derby is Adolis Garcia from the Texas Rangers.
Garcia has been outstanding this year, so I mean, I think that's a reasonable pick, actually. I mean, I believe he has 20 on the year. I mean, he came out of nowhere. Yeah, I would definitely put Garcia in there.
Yeah, so right now he's sitting at 20 home runs. He's got a .543 slugging percentage, which is 13th in the league right now. And the guy just came out of nowhere. Like I said, he was I believe he was a Rule 5 pick.
He got claimed off waivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, basically was a minor league guy. Didn't play all of last season because there was no minor league season. And now he's just coming on. He's just taking the league by storm. And it's great because we're seeing these young guys that, not just Garcia in general, but a lot of other young guys that are just killing it this year. And it's exciting to see. And I really think that he would thrive in this type of environment because we've seen him, especially in the big time moments, the clutch moments, the walk-off home runs and the walk-off hits. And he's just one of those that I think would really thrive in that type of situation. It's going to be, I hope he's one that is going to definitely partake into the home run derby this year. But another guy I've got is, what do you think about Matt Olson right now? Sitting at 20 home runs, a .605 slugging, but he's 4th in the league right now. So what do you think about Matt Olson possibly being in the home run derby?
That was one of the guys I was thinking of too, because I got to see him play at Coors Field actually, and he looked pretty good in the box there. I mean, he's got big power. I think he's one of the more underrated players actually. People may forget that he in 2019 he was on pace to hit 50 homers. If he hadn't missed time due to injury, he probably could have reached that mark. I mean, he's got a nice swing, and I think that he'd also be a good pick for the Derby.
Yeah, I think so. And then anybody in that Oakland Athletics lineup can probably do it. It's just, Matt Olson is probably one of those guys that has definitely burst onto the scene and has definitely made his mark within Major League Baseball. One guy I don't know, maybe he might, but it's maybe a head scratchers, is Nick Castellanos, who's got 13 home runs right now, but a .582 slugging percentage, which is 7th in the league right now. What are your thoughts on Castellanos possibly, taking some home run derby action?
Well, I think Castellanos he's become a more popular figure in baseball this year. I think it all started with the whole incident against the Cardinals back in the beginning of the year when he flexed on the pitcher. But much like Pete Alonso, big personality, and he's got big time power. So I think that, putting him in the spotlight, he could probably do something special. So yeah, that's definitely a reasonable selection there. And he is one of the leaders in fan voting for the All-Star game. So he's probably already going to be in the All-Star game. Might as well put him in the Derby too.
Absolutely. Since he's come over to the Reds, I think he's just been one of those spark plugs that has kind of given them a little bit more energy, a little bit more excitement in that clubhouse with Castellanos in there. So I had one that's kind of like an honorable mention. Just I don't think he'll do it, but is Yordan Alvarez. I think right now he's only got 11 home runs, but he's sitting at 20th in slugging right now. But actually, and as I speak of Yordan Alvarez, he just hit a grand slam in the top of the ninth against the Astros are playing against the Detroit Tigers. So now they're leading 12-2. So it's kind of fitting that this just happened. So as we talk about him, but what do you think about Yordan possibly partaking into the home run derby?
I think if there's anyone on the Astros that's going to do it, it's going to be Yordan. Crazy power. I think that, because he missed basically all of last year, people may forget, but he's a great pure hitter. And, again, he's got some raw power that could run with the big boys. So if there's anyone in that Astros lineup that could probably put on the best show at the home run derby, if anyone in there, yeah, it's definitely Yordan.
Absolutely. I think so too. The guy's got such raw power. And his swing it's more of like an uppercut type swing, but I mean the way he looks, he can, it looks like it's going to be a golf ball, and he can club it out, hit it in the third deck. But he's definitely one I think that, especially in Coors Field, will definitely thrive in that environment. Could definitely hit some 500-foot moonshots, but which we've all seen him do in the past, especially his rookie year. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of do these picks to kind of see who might be in the home run derby. We do know Shohei and Pete Alonso, will be in it. But these guys, I mean, I think this lineup here. I mean, of course, anybody else that could partake in it would definitely put on a show for the fans. I know that the fans would enjoy it, but I'm excited for the All-Star game to actually get here soon. One thing I'm not excited about: the uniforms.
Yeah, the uniforms. I don't even know where to begin on them.
So I have a picture here. Hopefully it'll come up here. Let's see. There it is, right there. Look at those uniforms. Now, someone posted this in the Overtime group chat that the All-Star game is in Colorado, but those are Atlanta Braves colors. How funny is that? That the All-Star game uniforms. I think these are the uniforms they wear in like batting practice and whatnot. Is that right?
They're gonna wear them during the games this year. During the All-Star game, they're wearing those jerseys.
Oh, 9 innings of that? No. I mean, I like the the traditional representing your team uniform in the All-Star game. Now, this could be a home run derby jersey or a batting practice or fielding practice, but not in the game. No.
Yeah, normally what I look forward to is, so during the home run derby, normally they wear the All-Star game jerseys that are designed for the whole, National League and American League. It says National and American. I actually always look forward to seeing what those jerseys are going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I get that, I like that during the game, you wear your own team's jersey, but those jerseys are an abomination. And I'm being polite there. I actually don't mind the caps. They actually look, that's something I would purchase. And I would wear it. But, those jerseys, the way I've described it is, in MLB The Show, you're allowed to design your own uniforms for the online mode, Diamond Dynasty. To me, what these uniforms look like is they went into Uniform Creator, did a really poor job of designing the letters, and then slapped the logo on it. That is, I mean, how can anyone? I don't think I know a single person that is purchasing one of those jerseys. I mean, to me, first of all, and this is not a shot at anyone who watches soccer, but they look like a soccer jersey when I first saw it, and also it looks not only that, but it also looks like a polo shirt. So I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of all of this? Like, I mean, the color scheme wasn't good. At least if you're gonna do the lettering and the logo, like at least put them on separate sides. Don't slap them on top of each other. That was, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
You know, I put that out on Twitter earlier today just to kind of get the reaction of some of the fans and listeners, but some are like, oh, that's pretty cool, I like it. You know, that's kind of their style, and some are like, oh hell no, I'm not getting that. That's just atrocious. Now here's, if you're watching this show right now, here's the hats. The hats are cool. Now this is a Yankees hat, but I mean, it's got the All-Star logo patch on which would be the right hand side. I mean, it's got a star in the background, which has got the Colorado Rockies colors, and then it's got the MLB emblem right there in the middle that is going to be red. I mean, I like that. I think that's pretty simple. You know, it's a good, clean hat, but it doesn't match the uniforms because the uniforms are a totally different color scheme. And I don't know. I don't like it. I think the uniforms are atrocious, and whoever designed them needs to be fired.
Yeah, that's, oh man. I understand that was it was the Nike. It's the Nike who designed these jerseys, and you know they also designed the City, like the City Connect jerseys, which I was a big fan of, and I think a lot of people like those jerseys. I think they did them for the Cubs, the Marlins, the White Sox, and the D-backs so far. Those were really, really, really nice, actually. But these All-Star Game jerseys, I mean, I don't think I know a single person who plans on purchasing them.
Yeah, no.
And I could only imagine what the players are thinking about wearing them.
So let me ask you about the City Connect. I was talking to somebody the other day. Now they're going to do all 30 teams, right?
I think eventually, yes. I don't know if they're all doing them this year, but I hope that eventually all 30 teams have them.
Because I mean, you know, there's a lot of talk about the White Sox and the Cubs. You know, I actually like the Cubs. I think it was real clean. Some didn't like the color scheme. The Miami Marlins one was actually pretty cool because it had a lot of that Cuban vibe that is in South Beach. And then of course, you know, you've got Arizona who had the serpent and everything kind of coming out now.
Red Sox had them too.
Red Sox, yeah, because that's right. And then to honor the Boston bombing back in a few years ago. So I think the Dodgers are up next. I'm curious to see what that one's going to entail, because that one could be interesting in so many ways, because I mean, Los Angeles is such a diverse community. So I'm interested to see what Nike does to kind of represent the city of Los Angeles. But yeah, that's about it. That's about all I got on the show. I mean, you know, the sticky substance situation, it kind of is one of those things that is at the forefront of Major League Baseball right now. You know, other than that, we've got great baseball going on. We've got some teams that are starting to kind of pull away within the division. So it's going to be exciting as we get up to the All-Star break, which is coming up in just a couple weeks. So we are getting close to the halfway point of the season. So how exciting is that to actually think about that we are at the halfway point of the season?
That's kind of, it's hard to believe. I mean, I'm really happy that there are All-Star Game festivities this year, because I mean, obviously we lost them last year, and you know, I think for a while, I wasn't a fan of making, home field advantage ride on the whole All-Star game. But now that, it's just a fun exhibition game, like I will always look forward to the All-Star game and to the Home Run Derby. I remember when it was at Citi Field in 2013, I went to the Futures game and I went to the Home Run Derby. It's a ton of fun. I just can't wait to see what who makes the roster. The Home Run Derby is one of the most fun events every year, so I can't wait to watch that. I can't wait, and I'm just really, really happy that it's even happening.
I'm right there with you. I'm excited to see what, like you mentioned, who's going to make the rosters, who's going to be your starting pitcher for the All-Star game. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what kind of show Colorado puts on for the All-Star game. So, but it's gonna be exciting as we get closer. So it's definitely fun to finally think about after having not having the All-Star game last year. So, but that's pretty much all I got on this episode. I appreciate you coming on, Mac. It's good to get back to seeing you and talking to you. It's been a couple weeks, so definitely glad to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me on again. It's always a pleasure, and yeah, it's been a few weeks, so it's good to be back.
Well, I definitely appreciate it, and we'll see kind of what happens in the coming weeks as with everything. As baseball is in full swing, and that's one of the things that excites us, that we get to talk about it, we get to write about it, and we get to eat, breathe, and sleep it. So that's always fun, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So. But if you have watched the show, or if you are listening to the show right now, be sure to head on over to Twitter. You can follow the show at Rip Griffin Show. If you have any questions, you have any voicemails, you want to talk about your favorite team, whatever it is you want to talk about, you can call into the show. You can call in at that number is 210-263-3253. Call in with your questions and we will get those on the air. And remember, the show is part of the Podcast City Network, so you can catch all the amazing podcasts on the network. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Take care.